Hi. One of the issues that comes up with visual training is that players can learn how to make calls. One thing you'll find is that you might be the parent of a kid who makes bad calls, and it's not a really exciting time to watch your kid and see them making mistakes. So, helping your player to learn how to make good calls is really an important part of protecting their reputation and helping them to learn fair play. So there are a couple of things that play into this. All right. Number one, about 80% of the errors that are made at tournaments, from what I've seen over 30 years, is simply a mistake. I mean, even a lot of the great, nice, good sports can make a mistake every once in a while. I know I've made a few bad calls in my life, and even in watching my son play for quite a few years, one thing I was very proud of the fact that during his entire junior career, I maybe saw him make less than 10 bad calls in his life. One moment was very interesting that his opponent had hit an ace that clearly went right smack on the line, and my son called it out, and I was sitting right next to the other parent at that time. So I turned to them and I said, oops. So, and I said, hey, I guess my son made a mistake right there. Sorry, we both saw that. But rest assured, he's going to make good calls the rest of the match. So you have nothing to worry about. So anyway, things happen. I mean, and it's really weird to kind of talk about that, but it's good to have that little honest conversation and get that out of the way. So, as it stood, my son didn't make any more bad calls during that match. So, it's a good thing to train this properly. Now, a couple of tips that might help would be to videotape the match. So, if you have an opportunity to videotape, then you can replay some of those and show back where the ball landed. As a high school coach, I've had some players who sometimes make bad calls, and they're just used to giving very tight calls because of tournament play. But I let them know. I want us to give the other player the benefit of the doubt. So, as a high school coach on a changeover, if I've seen that my player made a mistake, I'm going to come over on the changeover and say, hey, in that last game at 30-15, it looked to me like you blew that call. So what I want you to do is I want you to play up to two out balls until they win a point. So if you give them a couple of out balls that you're playing, then they're going to say, okay, well, at least I'm getting more than I'm having taken away from me. So that's just a little thing for me. You might not like that idea. I've also had in my junior programs a time when even if a kid that everybody loves makes a mistake on a call, we'll stop the clinic for a moment and we'll go, all right, hey, does everybody here like Stephanie? Yeah, right. Stephanie's really a nice kid. I think we all like her. Just one problem. She just made a mistake on a call right there. So, Stephanie, you know what I'm talking about? That ball was on the line. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, good. So, just want everybody to know that you can admit that you've made a bad call. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that we're going to not like you all of a sudden. So, it doesn't give you permission to do it on purpose. But just making sure that in the program and with your people that you say, hey, we're expecting fair play. So then in extreme cases, I've had just a few players who sort of rampantly made bad calls, and as a coach, I will overrule them. So it's tough. I mean, it kind of depends on the circumstance, but if I see a bad call by my player and it's blatant and I know that they're cheating the other player, then I'm watching that, then I will overrule that call, and I can do that. That's my player, so I will do it. And then Also, depending on the culture of the team that I'm coaching, I may also deputize some of my players to keep an eye on this one player that we know and love, but they just seem to make a bad call now and then. The interesting thing for me is that if I go back to that time when I would go on the changeover and say, "Hey, you blew that call." After two or three of those during the season, I think the players started to talk to each other. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I mean, except the fact that at the beginning of the season, I said that we're going to play fair and we're going to give good calls, and I'm not. We don't want to steal any matches from people, because ultimately, the philosophy behind it is this: if you win and you made some bad calls and it was a close match, then in the back of your mind, you're always going to have this nagging doubt as to whether you really deserve to win, right? But if you play fair and you're always giving the good calls and you're giving the benefit of the doubt to the other person, then you always know for sure that you deserve to win that day. And then the other thing that happens too is you spread that good sportsmanship and it goes to other people and they start to see it more, and that's the way the game's played. So but the philosophy that I always take is when we're playing against another team that's cheating, I tell my players, what they're telling you is they don't think they're good enough to beat you without cheating. So they cheat because of a lack of confidence in themselves. So you have a big advantage over people who will try to cheat you. Does it make sense, right? So this is really a big part of it, and I hope that you find this helpful. And please like and subscribe to the video. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. And the other thing I would like to do is see your comments down below, because it's really important for us to have a dialogue on this. I'll make another video if I need to, because if your comments are giving me suggestions, then I'll gladly give you a shout out and we'll get you going that way. All right, thanks.